Ki ngi tine mate o te wā kua whitūrangatia, haere koutou, oki oki atu ai. Ki ngā tini ora, e ngā mana, e ngā reo, e ngā rangatira mā, tēnā koutou katoa. Ki ngā manuhiri, nau mai hara mai, ki taku hiri tau nei. Mānoa tia te wiki o te reo Māori. Tēnā koutou katoa. As we journey through Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, welcome to you all to my reflections for my time as a Puketāpapa local board member. As I was telling one of my most early supporters about this valedictory, my friend reminded me that he helped review my maiden speech of sorts, the kōrero that I gave to City Vision as part of the selection process to run for the local board. I'd completely forgotten about it as the years rushed by, term after term. It seemed like an afterthought, but it seems appropriate now as I close my time on the local board to revisit it again. During that kōrero, I talked about how I visited long-time family friends who still lives in the heart of Roskill South. At that time, it was helping them make sense of the change and chaos around them, earthworks, construction, a neighbourhood in flux. Their main concern at the time was that the plans for a duplex that he had clutched in his hands wouldn't block the sunlight to their home. The home that I played in many times as a child. So I quote myself 6 years ago. It took me, with a tape measure, measuring up 3 meters and saying to him, imagine a 45-degree angle this way. They won't be building beyond that line. Not only did this restore his faith in city planning, he finally understood the plans in his hands. And with that, welcome to the height in relation to boundary rules. That's kind of the stuff which people don't understand. You know, it's this concept, it's this human construct of planning that, you know, is invisible all around us, but shapes our city in such an impactful way. Now they are so happy with their new and refreshed neighbourhood in Roskill South. Freeland Reserve is an absolute gem and they rave on about it every time I see them. The great new homes and the community that has flowed back into the area. And I want to acknowledge Carla, who was a big part of that through Kāinga Ora. You know, she did a lot with that community. And partly it's that kind of translation of all of these concepts of what's happening around them again. The reality is our city is changing, but it always has. And there's a lot of information that people can't grasp for its jargon and legalese. But I set out to use my architectural know-how to help others understand this complexity. And with every resource consent that I explain to the board, and for every conversation I have with people about zoning or flood risk, it helps them understand that which shapes Tāmaki Makaurau. I also talked about diverse representation, bringing my view as a Chinese New Zealander, a child of immigrants, to the decision-making table. Puketāpapa is likely the most diverse area in Aotearoa, and to have that rapport and understanding has been invaluable. I've been lucky to be invited to countless ethnic gatherings, Chinese moon festivals, Somali Independence Day celebrations, Muslim iftars, Indian days for seniors, and in the end, it is about connecting and seeing the harmony that brings us all together. I still remember meeting Carla and Kathy on the first ever volunteer day at Friends of Wairaki Stream, and that's a very special memory for me. And the welcoming communities work that the local board is doing right now is going to pay dividends for years to come, not only helping people settle in from outside the area, but people moving here from overseas. A slogan from one of the groups was, helping one another. And it speaks to my own philosophy. I bumped into a former local board member recently. We were elected at the same time, but she only did one tough term on the local board there. We met at one of the trainings that was done for elected members, back when we had in-person trainings, Luann. It was really good, you know, networking, so a bit of a plug there, I think. But look, it didn't occur to me back then, but she told me that it was so nice to have a friendly connection in the local board space and that despite our few interactions over the years, it made it a better place to be. Because politics is, at whatever level, isn't easy, but it's a privilege to serve and a service to community. I'm glad I was able to bring a positive influence to the role. Luckily, the Puketāpapa local board has been relatively collegial in my time here. We're all Roskill people trying to help Roskill. And in our own humble way, we get the job done. Highlights for me include things where I've attempted to solve a specific issue that I feel is unjust or inequitable. A good few cycle facilities have popped up around our school areas, continuing Puketāpapa's Greenways network, and I acknowledge Richard Bartle his great work crafting that plan on his time at the local board. Notably, the top of Frost Road feels much safer now, and the shared path now goes all the way up for the kids to use, or for kids and others to use. Another example was a local mum who contacted me about access issues on Parau Street in Three Kings, where the power poles were blocking up the one narrow footpath available. Her photos showed that she couldn't get her child's pram around it, and after visiting the street on several occasions, I saw people constantly forced onto the road. Not a hard thing for an able-bodied person to jump down and back up, although unsafe and a nuisance, but we have to think about our most vulnerable for these things. After many unsuccessful attempts at going through different channels, I penned an old-fashioned letter on letterhead to the chairs of Entrust and Vector, asking them to put themselves in the shoes of these locals and get rid of those poles. I also pointed out that according to their website, their undergrounding program did plenty for other areas, but Roskill, nothing. Nothing in the 12 years of the program. I even got a tape measure out, yet again, me and my tape measure, and measured the space between the edge of the footpath and the pole to demonstrate how inaccessible it was and how it didn't meet accessibility standards. Look, it took several years, but the poles are gone and the footpath is clear. I've been party to street corner meetings organised by residents where they have passionately advocated for street safety improvements. One on the dangerous Mount Eden Road and Landscape Road intersection where numerous crashes have occurred. Now 4.5 years later, finally there is a solution, and it can't come soon enough with the busier road and pedestrian activity. Our city is growing and we need these places, which we'll probably find in less busy periods of history, to be fit for purpose. A few reflections from my 2 terms here on the board. Look, I love temporary art and creativity, and at the beginning of my time on the local board, I remember former chair and now councillor Julie Ferry outlining the many issues at Power Homestead, one of the region's most valuable contemporary arts facilities. I didn't really see how it could be solved, but lo and behold, bit by bit, we got there. We now have a thriving arts facility with some great energy, and a huge mihi to the work of council staff and the new Arts Trust for their work to make this happen. As an architecture and urban designer, I remember campaigning on the revived town centre at Roskill Shops, helping people reimagine and figure out what people wanted out of the local shops, which I used to walk through as a kid back from school every day. As I started as a local board member, the streetscape upgrade had just been completed. John, Harry and I went to the uncovering ceremony of the carved stones there, and now several great restaurants, a medical centre and other businesses have moved in, bringing new life to the centre that is a hub for so many people. I look forward to more placemaking projects that make our public realm so much more attractive and safer. I've also enjoyed the many interactions with Māori during my work on the local board, contributing to the working group including 14 iwi representatives on the area plan was an extraordinary process and a valuable one. Addressing the ongoing and predicted housing growth, the plan was a huge effort led by former local board chair Harry Doyle. It plotted out a 30-year plan working towards the sort of things we need for more people and increasingly developed neighbourhoods. As an urban planning nerd, this was work that looked beyond what we have today and acknowledged the area's history that brought us to what we see around us. Kia whakatōmuri te haere whakamua. I walk backwards into the future with my eyes fixed on the past. It's not often you get to work with mana whenua on that level, and as tangata tereti, I could see the urban planning approaches woven together with Māori insights, so enriching to our plan. We also connected on many occasions with dawn blessings for environmental projects, opening new buildings, the dual naming of Wairaki Linfield Reserve, and the opening of Te Aunga Oakley Creek's restoration and daylighting. I still remember how beautifully the mist cloaked the newly restored stream, walking next to Wendy John, a local conservation champion. My environmentalist heart sings when in the space of 6 years I've seen Te Aunga restored, Wairaki stream revived, Freeland Reserve and the stream there opened up, and a daylighting project in Linfield Cove on the way. Not to mention all the volunteer efforts and pest maintenance that we have supported. This connection between the board, the environment and community were a pleasure to be a part of. Look, this isn't the Oscars, but I couldn't not thank I have to thank the many that have helped me to this point. To my parents, for without them and the sacrifices they have made, I would not be here at all. To my team, Julie Ferry and Harry Joy for their mentorship, John Turner for being the best of friends and colleagues in this role. We've done so much great mahi together. And to the board and the work we have collectively done. And to the staff. Who knew that inner workings of council had such amazing minds working for the benefit of all Aucklanders? Pohuki te rangi, I'm so proud, and personally I've learned a lot from the advice and approach you all take. To my workplaces who let me fulfill my role as a board member during the last 6 years, it's tough taking on 2 commitments, but I have gained a lot from it. To you all in the community, my supporters, those I have connected with, you are the reason I do all of this. So, what to next? As well as focusing on my health and well-being, spending more time with loved ones. Some of you may know I have a career in architecture, and 4 years ago, I shifted to helping a meaningful cause as a senior manager at the New Zealand Green Building Council, a not-for-profit in the property sector driving more sustainable buildings. There, I have been working with property companies and the finance sector, so investors and banks, to understand the value of building better buildings and operating them well, for the people that use them and for our planet. So now I'll be able to focus on that cause, and there's a lot to do there. But I'm not disappearing either. I'll be out and about in our community. It has raised me, and I love Puketāpapa so much. In fact, I'll probably still be out there helping grow this new community that is developing around me in the Three Kings Quarry, so that it is well connected, lively, and a safe neighbourhood. So see you all around, and thank you for everything. It's been an honour and a privilege. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Tūtira mai ngā iwi,
Oe, tātou, tātou e. Tūtira mai ngā iwi, oe, tātou, tātou e. Whai a te maramatanga, me te aroha e ngā iwi, kia tapatahi, kia kotahira, tātou, tātou e. Tātou, tātou. Puratia kia mau, kia wahi.